I guess the one thing that I forgot to ask you all, like, if you had a piece of advice for those who are, and other classes are starting this year, right? And you can dovetail this onto like first week of school stuff.
Mhm.
What piece of advice would you give to like new, to other students this first term or this first week? And you could also give a piece of advice to faculty.
Cool.
Like
Okay. I'm down
I
for
wish
that.
instructors would do blank, right? So you can do both
Two.
or either
Yeah.
or.
I'll do
Yeah.
two. So
Okay.
I wanted to
So
go
think about
last, but it's okay. So one piece of advice for students, and this is for all students who are taking online classes, because I understand there are hybrid versions now, which is a debate on its own, but this is not the time for that. So I'd say one piece of advice for generally all students is your mentality is key. It's very
it.
easy to say that, but regarding mentality, that also surrounded by your everyday life, which is eating healthier foods, moving, like just moving around. And I won't limit it to just exercise, because everyone's within their own situation. And if we're not aware of that diversity, and that, the diversity of different backgrounds and different financial situations, then it can be rigorous when it comes to learning in a space where, if people treat it like, oh, like you're just learning online, you're like, it should be easier, right? But for some
Mhm.
people it's not. So I'd say every day, if you could, one small thing I do is I have a gratitude journal. And if you write three things, like it could be like, I'm grateful for the fact that I can go outside, like just outside your front yard, or even like take like walks once in a while, or even like, oh, my family, my loved ones. Little things like that will, I think, motivate you, but also get you like appreciating what you do have. So that is like
Mhm.
a physical piece of advice, but also generally your mentality is key. Now for faculty, also, you're in a similar boat when it comes to like learning online. Not everyone came in very happily being like, yeah, like ready to teach kids online, because the idea of human
Mhm.
connection is kind of taken away, and there's a new boundary of this digital space. So I'd say for faculty, and this has to do with a lot life too. If you can find more in less, do so. Like focus on, if there's a specific theme in a lesson, or a specific like yeah, theme, like a specific theme you can implement into a unit or lesson, I would try to keep that consistent. Because I think for some lessons, some professors, some teachers will try to add many different components within one unit, and that could be very struggling for students. So summaries, reviews, like things to repeat those same concepts and topics, if you could, maybe within like the end of the class. So that way you're like, okay, students, so today we learned about these three topics, and your key point to remember is blank. And if that key point is repeated within the whole unit, just put it back there, because it's easy to believe that like, oh, like you can keep in your head, like in the moment you'd be like, I'll just remember it. But I can say easily enough, people like, what comes in can easily come out. So that is my two pieces of advice.
Okay. I have advice for faculty members that's mostly just a personal thing, but please, for the love of God, don't just have, if you're asynchronous, don't just have PowerPoints and nothing else as your resource to students, because I can't, like, PowerPoints are literally the most bare bone thing. They're made so you talk over them and elaborate off of them. If you just give me PowerPoint keynotes, that's nothing. It's only good for like saying which terms that you care about, I guess. But like, other than that, like, it's totally useless for me, at least. It's just like utterly useless. One of my teachers did that, and I was just like, I hate you so much, because like I just had to rely on the textbook, which is hard by itself. And the only thing that was useful was having a study guide. That can help if you make study guides for the tests and stuff beforehand. That helps, because then it's like, okay, I know what to focus on and things like that. And to do that before the test comes out, like from the very beginning, that helps a lot. But like, personally, for me, like, it really helped for asynchronous classes that they had a voiceover for the PowerPoints at the very least. Either just reading off of it, or like just doing a lecture, I guess, through video. And I know not everybody has the time to do that, and that, but at least it will keep you won't have to meet up, live. And at least for me, for whatever reason, audio information is like one of my main ways of learning, and it helps me. And like, while I do take notes usually while writing things down from the PowerPoint at the same time, for whatever reason, it's what keeps me engaged in the learning, and it really helps me comprehend it coming from a person, I think, partially. Also, something stupid I wanted to mention while I'm sorry, while Charlize was saying that she was an introvert. I think I was in denial, but I'm like, I didn't realize how much of an extrovert I was. That I was the reason that I was part of the reason why I was feeling so like dead for a long time. And during summer, when there wasn't school, was that I am an extrovert. I really do feed off of other people's energy, and if I don't get it, I'm a slug. Like my brain just goes and it won't come back unless I do something social. And I didn't realize like how much of that was a thing, because I have social anxiety at the same time, so I will intentionally avoid social situations because I'm worried about being seen as stupid. But I do love talking to people and stuff like that. So like, if you feel if you feel that you haven't talked to anybody in a while and you feel really sluggish and bad, like force yourself to socialize, even if you feel anxious about it. Even if it's just the simplest thing of like, hey, I'm going for a walk outside, and you need to call somebody to talk to at the same time about dumb stuff. Because and also like, I know people are, who have social anxiety feel isolated during quarantine because they don't want to message their friends because they're worried about bothering people and things like that. Just do it. If you're bothering them, they'll hang up or something, or they'll probably might be busy. But like, just reach out to anybody, just even if they're strangers or like people on forums who like the same things as you. Just do something, because like isolating yourself does not help at all, and you need to maintain human connection in any way that you can, in some way, or else you'll end up being a slug and you'll be unhappy. So yeah, I guess that's student advice.
Proof.
One piece of advice I could give to students is I would create a schedule, like a set schedule. For me, I'm not a very organized person. I don't follow schedules, but having that schedule for me, and I've started doing it within like the last few semesters, like last semester, really helped me. Not just following, like, making a schedule for my class, and I'm like personal life schedule. Like after class, I would set a slotted time to eat lunch, select the time to eat breakfast. I try my best to stick to those schedules. I'd schedule my own time for personal, like for homework. That dedicated time is to do homework. And then I'd have a slotted time for just to relax, like to play video games. And I stick to those. Like I wouldn't do anything else except relax, do things to calm me down, like play video games, listen to music, or go watch a movie or something. And sticking to that schedule helps you become more organized and helps you get into routines that you feel more comfortable, more fluidity, bring back like more normalized. And a piece of advice I'd give to professors. Most of my professors have been really relaxed about this. Please understand this is a very difficult time for students. Like it's very hard for students to get adjusted to how things are, especially since we all go on, it's all online now. Please be more understanding that sometimes when we submit assignments that the file doesn't upload correctly, and please give us when we try to message you saying it didn't upload correctly, please do understand that we didn't purposely, or some of us aren't lying. And I believe more understanding that like even though it does say only one chance to upload, that you should make it correct, that there's sometimes things happen, I'm not saying like all of us do this, but sometimes things do happen, and more professors are compassionate about this, but there are some people who are just stickler for the rules, and I am one to say I am a very stickler to the rule. If you mess up, it's sometimes that's just how life goes. But there are times in life where, especially in this setting, sometimes you have to be more willing to understand that, yeah, while this happened, sometimes it's just not your fault.
Okay, I just remembered some things that are actually good things that instructors that sorry, another thing, one for instructor and one for students. So, one for instructors. One of my teachers. Am I allowed to say who it was if it's a compliment or no?
No.
Okay,
Let's
never mind.
avoid that. Let's
So,
avoid- yes.
it's a microeconomics teacher. So, what she's done is that she actually sets the due dates to be in the morning, in the same hours as the IVC IT people, so that that way when people are submitting assignments, that there's IT people who are available and on call that can help you with technical issues. And I think that's actually a really smart idea. Even though I'm a person who's a procrastinator and like does things to the last wire all the time, like at midnight and stuff like that, I do think that's a really smart idea to like help mitigate like technical issues, because then if it's, in a time where there's the hours of a technical of, in the hours of IT people, then they can get help for the things, and it'll help you a lot. And one for students that I've realized and my brother advised me about, but I didn't realize how much it mattered. If you're ever doing something that involves you submitting a video on Canvas, when you record it on whatever device you're on, you can try to set the camera settings for whatever device you're using to be as low as like a low quality as possible, like a low resolution, because changing the size of the file can drastically change the upload time. Like yesterday, like a few days ago, I was submitting a video for ASL, and like I thought it would be fine because it was like I was using the front of my phone camera, and like it was set to the highest setting for that camera, for that side of the camera, which was like 9 megabytes. And I thought that'd be fine because it wasn't like the highest setting of the other camera. So I was like, it's probably gonna be fine. But like I submitted it super early, and I literally waited 2 hours and it still wasn't going. And I don't think it was gonna keep going. So like I had to like go back in my files, and I mean, you can look up a tutorial online, but basically you have to go into the app, to like the camera app settings, and then you go into the settings of that settings, and then you can select each camera individually and like change the resolution of both cameras. And so you set it to the lowest one, and that way the video file will be super small and you'll have a much easier upload time. And I think you can do that for computers and other cameras as well. So like for students, if you're making videos, make sure your video is a very low resolution, so that way it will actually upload properly. Yeah.
Wow. That's good.
So one thing that I would contend, and obviously this kind of parallels to what you were just mentioning, Elle, is that depending on the length requirement of your video or presentation or whatever it is that you're submitting, right? Not only does your camera setting need to be considered, the other options are having those recordings go to a separate entity before it is posted onto Canvas. For example, if you created a video, right, you upload it, like let's say to YouTube, right? The difference time period is uploading it to the YouTube portion, but then once you have the link, it's relatively instantaneous, right? On how fast your devices can get to like a YouTube video, right? So there's that component. The one thing that might be beneficial, okay, and I'm only bringing this in, is if multiple people are going to be viewing it. Okay, so if you're offering a video that is like, let's say, part of a discussion with other students and stuff like that, if it's a sizable file, obviously and I've noticed this with Canvas, you have to download that sucker. It goes into your download file, and then it may sit there unless you're like really consciously, actively deleting everything you download, right? So at least if you upload a link, it's already there, right? Like it's like they'll be able to watch it and consume your production instantaneously, as opposed to like waiting for the file to be downloaded from the cloud. So YouTube, you can do that, obviously, right? And there are other various like Vimeo, not Venmo, Vimeo,
Vimeo.
and other type of places and portals. I know I haven't experimented it with yet, but I know Flipgrid is like another social media like video sharing platform, which is also useful. But I guess my question is to all of you, as owners of a Zoom account, do you have your own personal ID meetings? Like you actually have a Zoom meeting ID number that's linked to your accounts?
I don't know.
I think so. But for me, I didn't purchase it. Like, I'm just a student, so like I haven't
Yeah.
tested out yet.
Okay, well, just like when you all get a chance, and this doesn't have to be the podcast, like try to see if you have your own personal ID number, like a personal Zoom ID meeting that you can start on your own, and it's basically you in a Zoom by yourself, but because it's your account, you're the owner of it, you're the host of it. Double check to see if you can actually record yourself giving a presentation or talking to the camera, right? You can even just do a test. Because the one thing that's unique about Zoom is that if you do that, you get a link directly of what it is that you recorded. Kind of like what I share out with you three, the recordings of our Zoom sessions, right? So it like I know I can do that, but the question I'm having is, can students do that too? So if you go into Zoom, like if you log into Zoom, find your personal Zoom ID meeting number and start your own meeting on your own, are you able to record that and then have the recording emailed to you and you can share that with others? So I guess that's my question. And if y'all can kind of test that out this next week and like let me know, that'd be awesome. Because yeah, I don't like the idea of recording something on a one device, then uploading it, and you're waiting on that delayed time, right? Because I think utilizing the feature of Canvas, or not Canvas, of Zoom, and you're able to record that, you're not worried about the delay time. Like you're gonna record it, and there is a processing time, but you're not physically doing that. You're not trying to upload it to the cloud. It's already going behind the scenes, and you'll just get an email and say, "Recording's done. Here you go." And the other benefit of utilizing, especially like Zoom or YouTube, is that they end up doing the transcribing for you, and you may be able to go in and make those adjustments if it's incorrect. But why is transcribing important? We also have to remember, from an equity perspective, those that are hearing impaired, right? They need to be able to read what it is that you have, and I'm learning more about that, especially in one of my classes right now. Okay. So that's just like a little thing to note. Because one thing when I was teaching async COM1 last semester in the second 8 weeks, I get all these files. I'm like, these are so huge. Like I can download it and all that other stuff. So my colleagues all mentioned about utilizing YouTube and uploading videos and stuff like that, or uploading links. And I'm like, okay, I understand why now, because then I don't have to add more unnecessary items into my download file and go through the process of deleting that. Okay.
Thank you. That was really
Alright.
good advice and information.